Okay, before we start working with double integrals and polar coordinates, we're just going to do a very quick introduction to polar coordinates. The purpose for doing this is because we want different ways of representing curves. We typically have worked so far in the rectangular coordinate system, where we locate a point by seeing how far we are from the y-axis and how far we are from the x-axis. I know everybody knows this, but it's kind of important to think about coordinate systems if we're going to introduce a new one. So our rectangular coordinate system, we locate a point x, y on the plane by specifying, its location is specified by the distance we go away from the y-axis and the distance that we are away from the x-axis, right? So we kind of form a little rectangle here, and we have a rectangular coordinate system. Now, polar coordinate system, we will locate the point on a plane in a slightly different way. So I am going to superimpose a polar coordinate system onto our xy plane. So here's our plane, and there's a point P, and we want to talk about a different way of locating that point. So we are first going to look at its distance from the point to the origin, and we're going to call that distance r, and that will be the first coordinate of our point. That tells us the distance the point is from the origin. I'm still going to call this the xy plane, although this is now called the polar axis. And our origin is now called the pole. So r is distance that the point is from the origin, but that's not enough, right? Because we can have an infinite number of points that are r away from the origin. They'll form a circle. So I also need to know another way of defining the location of that point, and that will be the angle that we make with the positive x-axis. So that's going to be theta. So our point will have coordinates r theta, where r is the distance that we are to the origin. So r is distance from the pole O to our point P. Theta is the angle that we make with the positive x-axis. If theta, so just a quick note here, if theta is positive, just like with trigonometry, if theta is greater than 0, then we are going in the counterclockwise direction, starting from that positive x-axis. And if theta is less than 0, we go in the clockwise direction from the positive x-axis. And r can have positive or negative values. So r can be positive or negative. So what we're going to focus on, of course, we could talk about locating points and a lot more here, but what I want to prepare you for so that we can do some integrals in polar coordinates is how to move between the coordinate systems. So let's discuss how we move between the polar and the rectangular coordinate systems. And you might guess that this has to involve trigonometry. And it does. So, suppose that we have, let me draw my axes again, and I'm going to place a point P onto our plane. And we see that this distance is r. And so point P, for example, has coordinates r theta if it's in polar coordinates, but it also has coordinates xy on the xy plane. So how do we change between them? Well, notice that I can drop a perpendicular here, and we can use some trigonometric relationships to figure out what the x-coordinate of P is and what the y-coordinate of P is in terms of r and theta. So here's our angle theta, and we see here that we can write that the cosine of theta is going to be the adjacent side x divided by the hypotenuse r. If I multiply both sides by r, then we know that x is r times cosine theta. We can do the same and find sine of theta to be y over r from our diagram, which tells us that y is r cosine theta. And so these two are going to be ways in which we convert from polar coordinates, if we have, for example, r and theta, to rectangular coordinates, x and y. So two important definitions. I'm going to label this 1 and 2. But we have a few more additional trigonometric relationships that we can think about here that are going to help us go from rectangular to polar coordinates. One is that we can use the Pythagorean theorem in our triangle and see that x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And so here you can see that if we have our rectangular coordinates x and y, we can get the radius r. So our third equation that's important here will be x squared plus y squared equals r squared, and that's going to allow us to go from rectangular to polar. And the last one that's going to be helpful to us is that tangent theta is y over x, so that if I know x and y, I can find theta. So the fourth important relationship here is that tangent theta is y over x, and these two equations will be really helpful to us in going from rectangular to polar coordinates. Now, there's a couple of last things that I want to mention. One of the reasons that it's really nice sometimes to use polar coordinates, well, it's nice to use them when we have circular regions, right? So a few notes here. Use polar coordinates to represent circular or elliptical regions. Because, for example, if I have the equation of a circle, x squared plus y squared equals 16, let's just say, right, where the radius is 4, this is in rectangular coordinates. Well, since x squared plus y squared in polar coordinates, that's just r squared, we can say, well, that I can replace that with r squared, so r squared is 16, or r is equal to 4, and that gives me the same circle. But it's a much more simple equation, which if we're trying to integrate something will be really handy. So converting circular regions to polar coordinates will be really helpful to us to just simplify our integrals. And the last thing that I'm going to mention, that's it about polar coordinates. We'll use them with double integrals, but I also wanted to just remind you of some trigonometric identities that are going to be really important for us in this next section and in the next chapter. So let's write some trigonometric identities to know. The first is probably the most important Pythagorean identity, which is that sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. This is a Pythagorean identity, comes directly from the Pythagorean theorem and the triangle that we drew above. There are two more that you can obtain by dividing this equation by cosine squared every term, or dividing the equation by sine squared. So I'll just tell you what the other two are. So that's going to be 1 plus cotangent squared theta equals cosecant squared theta, and tangent squared theta plus 1 equals secant squared theta. 3 Pythagorean identities. The ones that come up most often are the first and the third. Now, we may also see some power reduction identities that we learned in Calculus 2. So let's write those down. There are two, and you've used them a lot before. It helps us go from a power that's squared to a single power. So this becomes 1 plus cosine 2 theta over 2, and you can see that the power of cosine has been reduced. And sine squared theta is defined similarly as 1 minus cosine 2 theta over 2. Again, allows us to reduce the power of sine and cosine. And then a double angle identity that will also be really handy is sine of 2 theta is 2 sine theta cosine theta. So these are the identities that I suggest that you try to remember during the next couple of class sessions that we have.